Om Namah Pranavartaya Shuddha Jnanayikamurtaye Nirmalaya Prasantaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Alambena Vihitam Vyomabham Paripurnam Nishabdham Gururupam Tad Brahmaspuratanme Shantirnitantamadhika Paramasya Shaktihi Vairagyam Adbhutatamam Karunatu Sandra Jnanam Nirasta Kuhanam Madhuram Chavrittam Nrinam Nidarsanamayam Ramano Maharshi. My humble pranams. We will continue with our study of Devi Kalottaram. The 13th verse is the verse today. This and 14 verses, the 14th verses are important from the point of view of Jnanacharam. So, the Sanskrit moolam is this. Asmita kalaya yuktam chaitanyam shakti ruchyate taya prakashitam vishvam shakti dhyanam udahritam sarvalamba vinirmuktam nishkala jnanamuchyate. Is the moolam, is a 3-line verse in the Sanskrit. And Bhagavan's translation, Irikindren in Kalayodu, Yeinda Chaitanya Uru Shakti, Agdal Ulirum, Prapancham, Sarvam Shakti Dhyanam, Sar, Nishkala Jnanam, Sarva Niralambam Dan, says Bhagavan in this. Ahamasmi is the vacuum that is being referred to here, and the aspect called as Asmi. We call it as an aspect. It's not a very good translation. It is not a part, but it's an aspect. Sat and Chit are not different from each other. They are one and the same. Just as in water, wetness and liquidity are one and the same. We cannot separate them out in water. Similarly, Sat and Chit are together. The Purna Vastu is Sat Chit. This verse talks about the Chit aspect of this combination. The Chit is what is presented to us in the form of Irikindren. I am. This Irikindren Yendra Kalai, says Bhagavan. This Kala, he uses the word Kala because that is there in the original Asmita Kala. Asmita is amness. I am, and the amness portion of it is being taken up now. This amness or this conscious part is called as Chaitanyam, and this is the Shakti, the power that projects the entire cosmos to us. So, Ishvara says, this aspect of just being, awareness of being, is the one that is projecting the entire cosmos to you. Taya prakashitam vishvam. He does not say it is created. He says that is illumined. This world, this prapancham, this universe is illumined by this prakasham, by this light of consciousness, being consciousness. It is being illumined. Advaitam handles creation in a totally different manner. I'll come to that. Shakti Dhyanam Udahritam. So, Shakti Dhyanam, that is, the Dhyanam of Shakti is this cosmos. The Sankalpam of Shakti is this cosmos. The power behind this cosmos is created by the Sankalpam of Shakti. Sarvalamba vinirmuktam nishkala jnanamuchyate. Sarvalambam, alambam is a prop, a support. All the supports, everything that is in the mind has to be emptied out. Sarvalamba vinirmuktam, when you empty the mind out of everything, all the support systems, mantras, japa, puja, all these are support systems. Completely empty the mind out of all these bhavanas and all these limitations. These are all limitations. All these limitations are to be erased from the mind. And what results is nishkala jnanam. That pure jnanam is the result of this particular thing. Normally, the way in which creation is described in all the religions, a world is created and a jiva enters into the world. We see a world. We are born into a world and we see this world around us. We grow up, interact with this, all the worldly objects, have our life affairs, and there is an end to this particular life. And some other religion says that that's the end of the whole thing, but we say that there is another life for you. And then, but whatever it is, a world is already there. This universe is already there and we are entering into the universe. This is the normal method of conceiving creation. This particular thing is known as Srishti Drishti Vadam. Srishti is already there. The Srishti has already been made. This is a creation. And then we are seeing the creation after we are able to look at the creation and interact with it. We are seeing the creation. But Vedanta says, and Bhagavan says this repeatedly, this world arises simultaneously with the arising of the ego. When the ahankaram rises, when the jiva comes out, simultaneously he sees a world. So this is called as drishti srishti vadam. There is, you see, so it is there. It has no existence if you do not see it. We may have a lot of arguments with this. We cannot appreciate this or understand this. But Bhagavan says this is the case, and he gives the example of your own experience in the deep sleep. In the deep sleep, where does the world go? The world goes somewhere. We are not aware of the world. We are not aware of the body. We are not aware of any mind, anything, nothing at all. As far as we are concerned, there is an absolute blank. This is what we say. I didn't know anything. I didn't see anything. Talking about the deep sleep state, not the dream state. Deep sleep state is nothing perceived by me. This is what we say. But I had a very happy sleep. This is what we say. That is everybody's experience. So Bhagavan says, when you rise from sleep, when the ego rises, along with that, this world is seen. And this world, for all practical purposes, exists for you. And when you do not look at it, or you completely lose consciousness about this world, the world is not there. So the objection is, we will object to this. We will say that even if I am not seeing the world, the others who are seeing the world, how can you accept it? Everybody else is. They all say that so many things happen during my sleep and other things. So Bhagavan says that does not hold good, because I am saying that this world is within your mind. And the people you are talking about, they are also within your mind only. Is it possible for you to get an independent witness who is independent of the mind, who can confirm to you, yes, as I saw the world, when you did not see the world? Can you do that? Can you find anybody? Everything that is conceivable is conceived in the mind. So everything exists in the mind. This is the first hurdle that all of us have to cross if we really want to understand Advaita Vedantam. That is mind, which is containing this entire cosmos. So Bhagavan says beautifully in Ulladhanarpada, there are 3 or 4 verses starting from the 5th verse, where he says, has anybody seen the world without a body? Even the dream world is seen only with the dream body. When the dream body is not there, there is no dream world also. And he continues to say later on, has anybody seen anything at all except within the mind? Only in the mind everything is seen. So summarizing all this, Advaita Vedanta stand about creation is the world. There is no world without the body, any body, and there is no body without the mind, and there is no mind without consciousness. And consciousness is not different from reality. Consciousness and reality are one and the same. So this is the way in which the entire creation is compressed onto you, the seer. You see, so it is called as the world. In Sanskritam, alokyate iti lokaha. Because you see, it is called as loka. It is nothing other than that. However much people argue with Bhagavan, Bhagavan maintained only this. So this is known as Drishti Srishti Vadam. But there is another Vadam. And Muruganar says Bhagavan actually conforms to that particular Vadam of creation, and that is known as Ajati Vadam. Nothing was created. Nothing has ever been created. There's nobody who is bound. Nobody who is seeking mukti, or nobody who is yamukta. None of these things. Because the whole thing is in the ego, and the ego is unreal. So whatever is created by the ego is also unreal. So when you say something is born, something dies, and other things, they're all ego's creations. So a jnani would say, nothing ever happened to me. Just as when you wake up from a dream, particularly a bad dream, at the time you are having the dream, you are bothered by the dream. You may go through all kinds of difficulties, lose a passport in a different place, and you keep on searching for that, and people are not helping you, all these things. Suddenly you wake up. Where does all that misery, all that tragedy, everything, where does it go? It all collapses. When the dream collapses, everything collapses. So as far as the waker is concerned, though he says that I was the dreamer, he is identifying with the dreamer. But the waker says that all those things are totally an unreal thing. They all happened within me, and they're all totally unreal. All of us agree on this. That is all unreal. As far as a dream is concerned, they're all unreal. What has happened? A shift in consciousness from the dream state to the waking state collapses an entire world. A jnani also has this shift in consciousness. He has woken up from this worldly dream also. Bhagavan always maintains this is another dream. If that is dream one, this is dream two. He used to say that. People used to argue with him. How can you say that? This is so very solid. He says in the dream also it is very solid. When you were having the dream at the time, you did not doubt the dream. Whatever the mind creates, it will believe in it. If the mind creates something, it will believe in it. All this is mental creation. So coming back, Vedanta says, that's because you exist, there is this cosmos. That's what this particular verse, what it says is, Asmita, this amness, this aspect of being, wearing something, this is the one that starts off the whole thing. From this, the whole thing starts. And this is Shakti, because it is able to create such a fascinating thing for you. This activity that goes on is the activity of Shakti. And it says that Shakti is not different from the Sat, the Shiva. Shiva may be the unmoving aspect, and Shakti is the active portion of the whole thing, and that creates the entire thing. Shakti Dhyanam is actually the Sankalpam of the Shakti, says. That is, something is created, and that is the Sankalpam of this particular aspect called as I am. You are creating this world. You do not know this. We are creating this world. How are we creating this world? Because of our desires. As long as desires are there in the mind, this world will also be there. And this world that we are seeing are the fulfillment of the desires of the previous life. That is according to our religion. fulfillment of the previous life is taking place in this life. What it means is, in this life, with our desires, we are already creating a new life for us. That's why Bhagavan says, be very careful about any desire. Don't have any desires at all. If you have a smallest desire, it will make you take another life. In Bhagavatam and other things, we have these stories of Jada Bharata, a great jnani who was just about to, reach that stage of realization. He witnesses an event of a deer jumping over a river because a tiger is after it and the deer is pregnant. It gives birth to a small baby and it dies. And this Rishi Bharata is so, compassionate. He gets attached to that small baby, starts, nursing that baby, nurturing the baby. And his mind is full of that. And all this Brahma Dhyanam is given up during that time. And at the time of death, his last thought was, what will happen to the deer? Who will take care of that? So he is born again as a deer in the next Janma. But the deer is a very exceptional deer. It is, it is such a pure one. It goes to the place where all the Maharshis will be gathered around. And then it will take part in listen to all the conversations that go on and so forth. There is one more life for it. That is whom we call as Jada Bharata. Bhagavan used to compare himself to Jada Bharata. Jada Bharata, from the birth, he is a Jivan Mukta. The point that is being made is desires create our life, and this cosmos is based upon only this. There is nothing out there, says Bhagavan. There is nothing out there which is apart from you, which is separate from you. It is whatever is inside, the same thing is projected outside. That is the Maya Jalam of this Shakti. So what does this world tell you, the creation of the world tell you? This creation should make you ask this question, how did this creation come about? And that should lead you to, I am the person who is seeing this creation. What is my source? So the world will have to direct you back into your own self. That is the purpose of this particular creation. Bhagavan says that in many places in talks. When you see the world, finally you should get back to this track, find your own source, and when you find the source, all the problems in the world would be solved. Nothing else remains for you to do. So here, this verse says that Taya Prakashitam Bit, this Vishwam is illumined by this Shakti known as Asmita. I am. This is the Prakasham. The Swayam Prakasha Vastu comes out, and the first light of manifestation is this ego. It first manifests as Ahankara, ego, and then the rest of the manifestation is seen. So he says, Sarvalamba Vinirmuktam. So what you should do is, this mind, which is the creator of this entire cosmos, this light, that Prakasham, the Swayam Prakasha Vastu, passes through a lens, as it were, mind being the lens. And through the lens, it projects the world pictures. Mind is the lens. And the light of projection is coming from within. But we do not bother to look at the light by turning our mind inwards. Our attention is all there on the illumined objects, on the objects that are being, because they are so fascinating. So our mind goes there and never turns inside. What Bhagavan says is, when the mind is rid of all its attachments, all the desires, so it is as good as no mind at all. When the mind is completely dissolved in that manner, that is, he calls it as Sarvalamba Vinirmuktam. Alambam is a support, a prop. You completely remove all the attachments from the mind, and then what you reach, you will be able to see the actual light of consciousness in all its purity, and that is the way to take, that is the path to take. Sarvalamba Vinirmuktam Nishkala jnanamuchyate. This is the pure knowledge, pure wisdom. I am is wisdom. I am this is not. I am this is illusion. I am. That pure I amness is jnana, which is not having any mixture with anything other than itself. There is only itself and nothing else. That is pure wisdom. And if it is going to get mixed up with something outside, then it becomes Maya. And the Maya plays with you. The Shakti plays with you all the time. The purpose of this verse, the import of this verse is that we have to find the basis of this creation when this Maya is projecting this cosmos, and then find out what is the root of this creation and go back and then establish yourself in that. That's what has to be done. So finally, he completes the sloka by saying, Sarvalamba vinirmuktam nishkala jnanamuchyate. I will come to this word kala. It's an unusual word. Ishvara uses this word kala. Kala is an aspect. Normally we use this kala, I don't know, you might have heard about Chandra kala. This Chandra, the moon is supposed to be having many phases. It starts from the Amavasya day, it keeps on growing and then goes into a full moon day. Each one phase is known as a kala. Normally that's what they do. But with respect to Vedanta, with respect to Chaitanyam, kala means that they classify not only the ego's aspect, but also the other things like, the 5 elements that go into making up and, the various other aspects of life and other things. Totally, they say that is 16 kalas are there. Actually, all these things are not really required for understanding of these things. What has to be understood in this is, there is one kala, this asmita kala, this irikkindraen endra unarvu, this ulla unarvu, what Bhagavan says as ulla unarvu, this unarvu cannot be destroyed. This prajna can never be destroyed. Everything else will go. Everything connected with the life, connected with the individual, connected with the world, everything will go. They all have an expiry date. But this asmita, I am, this one is indestructible. That's why they say is akshayam, nashwaram. All these words are used to say that this one kala will never go. There is no such thing as absolute non-existence. If you say there is absolute non-existence, then the question will be asked, who is seeing this absolute non-existence and talking about it? Who is there? Somebody is there. To say that there is nothing, somebody must be there. So that somebody is very existence, his awareness of his own existence. I am, and I know that I am. Not I am, and I also know that I am. These two things come together always. We cannot separate that out. This knowingness, this amness is something that is indestructible. So, Kala, Kanakamal in her commentary, she writes that this one Kala, this Asmita Kala, irikkindraen endra kalai, en kalai, this particular Kala can never get destroyed. It is there all the time. And this Kala is the one that is projecting this entire world outside. There is nothing outside you. Bhagavan used to say this. There is nothing outside you. Everything is only inside. And he gives this story. In spiritual stories, you find this story. He talks about the saint Appar, the 4 saints. Appar is one of them, the great saint. And he is a very old person, but he has this desire to go to Kailasam. He says, I have seen all other places where Shiva is dwelling. I want to go to Kailasam. He starts. And the place from where he starts is, a corner of Tamil Nadu from Tanjore district, Thiruvaiyar. He starts from there and he's going towards Kailasam. And he was struggling to walk in those days. One has to only walk up to that place. So it seems Shiva himself appeared as an old Brahmin in front of him and told Appar, where are you going? He said, I'm going to Kailash. Do you think it is possible for you to go with this body? It's such a long distance. You don't even know. No, but I want to go. So he tried to convince him. He was not convinced. So it seems Shiva told him, they were near Tiruvalur. There is a big tank. Even now you can see the temple tank, a beautiful tank, a huge tank in Tiruvalur. So it seems he said, do one thing, take a dip in this tank and then you proceed towards your Kailasham. So Appar goes into the temple tank, he takes a bath. When he comes out, he sees Kailasham there outside. That's why the Tiruvalur has got a special significance, because where Kailasham itself is shown to Appar. So Bhagavan relating the story, he asked this question, where is Kailasham and where is Tiruvalur? Where is that? And how did Kailasham was seen by Appar? If Kailasham seen by Appar was real, everybody should have seen that, but nobody saw except Appar. So only for his vision there was this Kailash. So how can you call all these appearances as reality? There is nothing outside. There was all there inside of Appar, and that was just brought out by Shiva, and then he saw it. So like this, he used to say many stories from Yoga Vasittam also. There is nothing that is there outside. Everything is inside. And that's what this says. The world is seen by a body, which is sensed by a mind, which is illumined by consciousness. So consciousness is everything. Who reach to that consciousness, you have reached the very source of existence. There is nothing beyond this. That's what this particular verse says. Agdal olirum prapancham sarvam shakti dhyanam. Shakti dhyanam, he says. There is a chapter in Ramana Gita which is known as Shakti Vicharam. Kapali Shastri asked some questions about Shakti, and they're all Shaktas. Actually, Kavyakanta and his Sishya Kapali Shastri, they're all people who believed in the Shakti worship. They are Shaktas. And that continued with them throughout, even though they were associated with Bhagavan and other things. It was practiced by them for a long time, so it continued with them. So the questions were asked by Kapali Shastri on this between Shakti and the ground. He used to call it as the ground. The ground is Shiva. Shiva and Shakti. One is activity, the other one is the ground on which this activity takes place. Because for any activity to take place, there must be a base, there must be a ground. The unchanging background is necessary for you to spot a change, is it not? Unless the background is unchanging, not moving, you cannot see any movement. You cannot really spot any movement. Any movement can be spotted only by an unchanging background, and Shiva is the unchanging background. So there is a lot of questions in that. So one of the questions that Kapali Shastri asked is, what is this Shakti and what is this ground of this Shakti? Can you tell us this? Bhagavan gives this. This is an expansion for this word, Sarvam Shakti Dhyanam Dan. He says, this is the explanation for that. He says, Swarupam Ashrayatvena Vyapara Sarga Karmana. Ashrayatvena Swarupam. Because it is the ground. Ashrayam here means ground. Because of the fact that it is the support of everything, Ashrayatvena, it is called as the ground. And Vyapara Sarga Karmana, all the activities, Vyaparam is this activity, moved by this Shakti, this Vyapara Sarga Karmana. Sarga means creation. Because of all these activities connected with the creation and everything, we have to really concede a Shakti on the one side and a ground for the Shakti to act on the other side. Namabhyam Uchyate Dvabhyam Shakti Reka Paraspara. Though they have two different names, they are only one in the end. Shakti and Shiva, they are one and the same. So don't be fooled by this Shakti. She is also part of Shiva. Your mind should go back and do the thing. And so he says in the next one, Swarupam Ashrayam Prahuhu Vyaparam Tata Lakshanam Vritya Vignyaya Tanmulam Ashraye Pratithishtati. The operative word here is Vritya Vignyaya Tanmulam. When you see this creation, you should get this thought, who has created it? And I am seeing this, who has created me? What is my source? This kind of a vritti should start in you. This kind of a vicharam should start in you, so that you can go back to that ashrayam and then get it. So this is about the amness portion. And the next verse, the 14th verse, is about the aham portion. That is, first is the chit, then he is talking about sat. Aham amshena yat shunyam, yat shunyam, chinmatra alokam advayam, mukti bijam tadakhyatam, parayoga pravartakam. Bhagavan's translation. Adduvidamahi, advayam is the word. Adduvidamahi, Arioli Mattiramai. Arioli Mattiramai. This one that is actually Chinmatram, only Chit and nothing else. Arioli Mattiramai. Yettum, a word in Tamil, Yettum. Yettum actually means Puranam. It keeps on radiating, prodding from inside. Yettum means prod. I believe this feeling, amness, keeps on prodding you from inside. It keeps on, it never leaves you. Only you don't look at it, but it keeps on prodding you. You have pushed it into the background. You do not see that at all. As I said, the background is the one that is actually the experience, but we think that what is projected outside, that foreground, is the most interesting thing. We do not go to the background at all. Only the foreground we see, and then we never turn our attention back inside. Yettum, he says. Nisargadatta Maharaj, in his Who Am I? I Am That, sorry. In I Am That, there is one passage where he says, this constant prodding that goes on from inside you, this prakasham that keeps on, aham, 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 this effulgence that keeps on, it is like a chick constantly picking at the eggshell to come out. Allow it to come out. It's constantly pricking. It's constantly, prodding you. Look at me. Look at me. Notice me. So it keeps on happening. So here Bhagavan uses the word yettum, this Puranam. Yettum aham amshat yet chunyam. Muktikku vittu aduve என்று விளம்பும் பரயோகத்து உயிர்த்திடுவதாகத்தான் உற்று. He says that effulgence alone is there. Aham's lakshanam is that effulgence alone. It does not know anything at all. So he calls it as shunyam. The word shunyam is so terrifying. We cannot really think of that. Everything will become spoof. Everything goes. We are afraid of that. But he uses this word. Normally, Buddhism uses this word quite a lot. Shunyam, shunyata is a very common word. Atishunyam, they say, mahashunyam, all kinds of variations in the shunyam. But shunyam is a void. In Tamil, we call it as Urivu, Pal. These are the words that are used. Urivil, Odukkam is the name of a Vedanta book. Pal, there is nothing there. But Vedanta says, yes, that is only one aspect. It is not there. Nothing is there with respect to the objects. But when this goes, what remains is Purnam. So our emphasis on the positive aspect of Purnatvam, but also we talk about the Shunyam with respect to the objectless consciousness. The vessel of consciousness which is emptied of everything. That is Shunyam. Again, Bhagavan would always come back to this deep sleep state and he'll say, why are you worried? Why are you terrified? Are you not experiencing Shunyam? No, there is no experience at all, Bhagavan. How can you say that it is a great thing? Used to be the questions from the devotees. How can you say there's absolutely no experience? Bhagavan says, you are saying something wrongly. You are saying that experience is absent. It is not an absence of experience, but it is an experience of absence. See the difference? It is not absence of experience, but it is experience of absence. There is experiencing going on. What you are experiencing is nothingness. And he gives this example also. There is a dark night, Amavasya night. There is nothing there. And there is a power failure also, let us assume. Nothing there. And you are sitting in a room and keep the door open and you are looking out. There is somebody looking out, but what does he say? He cannot see anything at all. There is nothingness. So it is like the witness of a darkness. You are witnessing absence. There's always this witnessing goes on. This consciousness is there with you all the time. So he says, why are you afraid of Shunyam? Shunyam actually means that it is Purnatvam, because that is going to indicate to you that you are full of that effulgence, full of that, the joy that is within, that bliss of aloneness, not loneliness, but aloneness. Bliss of aloneness is what is experienced by you. And that is bliss of a nature that we cannot even compare, we cannot even imagine. So reach to that state by emptying yourself of everything. That's why he says in Upadesha Saram, Bhava Shunya Sadbhava Sustitihi. Uses the word Shunyam, but he immediately adds the word Sadbhavam. It is the positive aspect he wants to emphasize. It is Sadbhavam. Sustitihi, he continues to say. It is a state of fullness. Sustitihi, bhava shunya, sadbhava sustitihi, bhavana balat, bhakti ruttama. He connects it up with bhakti. We'll come to that in the next verse. We'll talk about that. Aham amshena yachunyam chinmatra alokam. Alokam is this prapanchopashamam, where there is no world seen at all. There is no other. There is only oneself. Advayam, there is no two there. And this is the seed for your liberation. Mukti bijam tadakyatam parayoga pravartakam. This is the one which is going to be the seed for your mukti. Experiencing this shunya vastu, the shunya sthiti, shunyam of all the objects, but paripurnam of that particular consciousness. Try to experience that. When you try to empty your mind of everything, that becomes the seed for your mukti. That itself will take you to that particular final state. So he says, Mukti bijam tadakyatam para yoga pravartakam. It is one of the greatest of yogas, he says. I will just add one more thing that Kanakammal in her commentary has given. She says, I mentioned about the bliss. She says that the place from which everything is emptied out, that particular spot from which this aham rises, and along with that aham, the entire cosmos rises. It starts, the whole process of creation is starting from that point. Which point? The point of shunyam, where there is no object at all, but only existence, consciousness place. From that place, everything begins and then expands into a cosmos. And then she quotes from Tayumanavar. This is a chapter known as Ananda Kalip. Anandam in Sanskrit is bliss. Kalip in Tamil is also bliss. So he is combining these two Sanskrit Tamil words. Ananda Kalip is the chapter name given by Tayumanavar. This is quoted by Kanakammal for this reason. Chindai pirandadu mange. Chindai pirandadu mange. அந்த சிந்தை இறந்து தெளிந்ததும் அங்கே எந்த நிலைகளும் அங்கே கண்ட யாந்தான் இரண்டர தின்னதும் அங்கே இரண்டற்று இருந்ததும் அங்கே. He says, this is சிந்தை பிறந்ததும் அங்கே. In that place, the mind was born. From that place, the mind emerged out. சிந்தை இறந்து தெளிந்ததும் அங்கே. In the same place, the mind goes back. Unless it goes back to that same place, the finality is not achieved. The final state is when the mind has to go back and die there. It has to die there. Irandadum ange, irandu telindadum ange, he says. The telivu is that bliss that comes out of that. So the mind is born there and it has to go back there. All the things are contained in that. That place is the source of everything. That source of everything is only that point. Kanda yandan irandatru irundadumange. The one who saw me, who saw that, irandatru irundhen. He says, I was without any duality. There was no separation between you and me. He says. And interestingly, in Aksharamanamale, Bhagavan says, Nina Narapuli Nidam Kalimayama. He uses the same word, Kalippu, Ananda Kalippu. You and me, let there be no barrier at all. Who is there in this wall between us? Let there be no wall between us. You and I are one and the same. And that is the cause of bliss. Only in the non-dual state can there be bliss. And the deep sleep state is a non-dual state. There's nothing there. There are no two things. You don't see anything. There are no differences between this and that. There is no space, there is no time, there is no limitation, there is no causation. Nothing is there in the deep sleep, which is very close to the state that a jnani enjoys all the time. So he says, Nina Narappuli Nidam Kalimayamai Nindidum Nilayarul Arunachala. Let there not be any barrier between the two of us, he says. So the state of I-ness, the state of pure being alone is the source of everything, and the activity begins with this consciousness, I am, and this activity creates this entire cosmos. You don't have to be fearful about this cosmos. You don't have to be fearful about this samsara. Just look within and reach to that stage so that you will be able to cross the boundary, cross all the suffering, and then go back and then enjoy the great bliss that Tayumanavar enjoyed and talks about. There'll be time for just one more verse. The 15th verse, all along, Ishvara has been saying what you have to do. Now he says what you have to avoid. As Jnanacharam, Acharam, do's are also mentioned, don'ts are also mentioned. And these set of verses are meant for people who are desirous of moksha jnanam. I'm giving this disclaimer in the beginning itself. There is a rider I'm adding. This is meant for the PhD syllabus. It comes under the PhD syllabus. All of us are in the high school syllabus, but it is better to know that syllabus also, so that we will know what it is like. Here Ishvara says, Chakrani, Nadyaha, Padma Devata, Bija Mandalam, Rupam, Ityadikam Kinchit, Dhyayam, Naiva Kadachana. Bhagavan's translation, Chakrangal, Nadigal, Sar Paduma Devataigal, Aksharangal, Mandala Murti, Adiyam, Mikka Ivai, Orpodum Arpamume. They are of a lower grade, he says. Getting into this particular margam, he says, are at a lower level. Unni idattahad, please don't get involved in this. Ner margamam idanai neet. There is a straight path that is made available to you, which leads you to the ultimate goal without going about in a roundabout manner. You will be able to reach that particular place. So he talks about this chakra dhyanam, the part of the Yoga Shastram. It is not being decried. What is being said is, they have a purpose of their own. But you, in your mind, you determine, is this what I want to get? Or do I want to get something else? I will tell you, a limitless ocean of bliss is available to you by taking one simple step and repeat that step. The steps are not different. There is only one step. But the steps are repeated again and again and again in a relentless manner, constantly looking for the source of this ahankaram, which is variously described as who am I, whence am I, and also the self-attention. They all are ultimately the same thing. This is the Ner Margam, Marga Arjavat. This is the straight path. So I'm telling you this path, says Ishvara. He says chakras. Chakras are all, as I said, there are 7 chakras that are described. Mooladharam, the base chakra. Swadhishtanam, Manipurakam, Anahatam, Vishuddhi, Agnya, and finally Sahasraram. Sahasraram is the crown, the cranium chakra. These chakras are based upon nadis. As far as the Yoga Shastram is concerned, there are 2 nadis. One is known as Ida, one is known as Pingala. These 2 nadis, they carry the pranan. The pranavayu goes through these things. And these 2 nadis carry all the activity of the jiva in the thing. And there is another nadi, which is Kundalini, which is actual consciousness. This consciousness and these pranas, they have a meeting place. They all go in a helical manner. I mean, these are all conceived. And they have a place where they all meet, and these places where they meet are known as chakras. So these 7 chakras are described, and a yogi, when he is given a diksha, a yoga diksha, he is asked to concentrate on a deity of a particular, the description given of the deity. The color of the dress that the deity is wearing is also given, and she is seated on a 100-petal lotus, 1,000-petal lotus, and so on. There is a place where it's given, and there is a mantra associated with each deity. So you keep on concentrating on the base chakra to start with, uttering these mantras, and keep your concentration on this. And they say, because that is the place where Kundalini is also there, you will be able to see the conscious activity. And then you are required to rise it slowly from one chakra to the other chakra, slowly up to the Sahasraram. When the consciousness reaches Sahasraram, you would have seen a number of devatas in each chakra, a devata of a particular district. Each one devata is different from the other. So what you need to do is you need to discard that devata which you have been doing upasana to for a long time when you are reaching the 2nd chakra. And you keep on discarding, keep on imagining, keep on discarding, keep on imagining, keep on discarding, and finally you reach. Bhagavan says all this is true. It is an acceptable practice. Consciousness is raised and it can go up to Sahasrara. And the yogi who is successful in raising the consciousness up to Sahasraram, he will indeed experience bliss. But, he says, there is a but. But, he says, vasanas do not get destroyed by keeping the consciousness at the cranium or the Sahasrara. Vasanas, they exist in the heart. And that is why he gives this example to somebody. Actually, he was having a conversation with Kavyakanta, who raised all this question. And then he was maintaining, I believe, no, all the vasanas are there in the brain, in the Sahasraram. Bhagavan, I believe, said this argument. He gave this argument. He says, if that is the case, if you cut off the person's head, then he will not have any future life at all. Is it acceptable? Is it logical? Then Kavyakanta accepted, yes. Then Bhagavan says, these yogis who take this Kundalini up to the Sahasraram, they are required to complete the process. There is one step that is required to be completed, which is left undone by these yogis. And that step is bring the consciousness back through what is known as Amrita Nadi and take it to the heart. It has to merge in the heart, and that is the time when the vasanas will completely get eradicated and there will be no more birth. And there will be total, destruction of the mind, and one can become a Jivan Mukta here itself. So this is Bhagavan's objection to stopping with this particular thing. So here Ishvara says the same thing to Parvati Devi. He says, person who is interested in the Jnana Margam and the moksham associated with the Jnana Margam, he will not do these things because they are all roundabout methods. Bhagavan also used to say that for all these things to be successful, there must be a guru with you to guide you all along. Otherwise, there can be dangerous consequences also. It is not a safe path. If you do not have a guide, a competent guide with you every step of the way, it can become very unsafe. So that is the reason why he says the mind will be, at some point in time, there can be a huge amount of, burning sensation in the brain and so on. Kavyakanta had this. He had a sensation which he could not really tolerate at all. Bhagavan used to tell him, concentrate on the heart, meditate on the heart. All these other things are not really required. I believe he went and then put his hand on Kavyakanta's head when he was in Virupaksha cave. Kavyakanta was staying in mango tree cave. Went there, he sent word through somebody, I'm not able to bear this. Bhagavan went there, put his hand on that Amrita Hastam. He cooled him down and came back. Anyway, the point that is being made here is this particular yogas and the nadis and other things are not for one who wants to have a release through the Jnana Margam, which is the complete release. You don't have to do that. But if the idea is to get some siddhis, display those siddhis, get some acclaim, you feel very good when you are able to show things and then people are really mesmerized by all this show. That is the case, then okay, all these things can be done. You will not be able to really handle the siddhis also. So why do you want to go there? This is a direct path. This is a marathon race. There's only one. Gradually, with endurance, repeat the same step again and again till you reach the goal. Nothing in between. You will not be misled. You will not lose your energy. You will do this. So he says, Vicharam is the best way to really reach the goal of the jnana. So with this, I will stop, and next week I'll continue.